I welcome you all this morning for our monthly finance update, and we have some good information for you again today. As usual, I'm the welcomer. Welcome, everybody. And we're going to, after my welcome, we'll have a presentation on Budget 101, and then I'm not sure about Are You Smarter Than a BA? I'm not sure what to expect there. I know I'm not, but we'll see how the rest of you do with that. First of all, we have a new member of the project team. I want to introduce Sherry Matthews, who is our new PM for the finance project. Sherry just told me that she's been recently in Miami, and so this has been a little bit of a shock to her system. I said, just wait till the summer and you'll be fine. Things will feel like Miami again. We're glad to have Sherry here. She started on Monday and is going to be working with us, obviously, as the project manager for the finance project. And when people ask me what does a project manager do, I don't know technically all the things that they do, but I think about it as in politics, they're the whip. They're the one that keeps things moving on schedule and making sure that we get done what we need to get done. There's also a new website for you to look at if you haven't looked at it yet. The address is up there. This is the website where we're collecting all the information about the project, not just finance, but the whole project. And so it's a good place to go. When we had our town hall last week, we emphasized the fact that this was a good place for them to go to get information. And so we're trying to make sure that we communicate that to the whole university community. The project leadership is going to be Matt, myself, and Jerry are going to start meeting with the deans starting in April to give them an update on where we are, make sure that all the areas are getting prepared for the implementation in January. And so that'll be an interesting time. The same strategy was used during campus solution implementation, and they found it was helpful to make sure that senior leadership had an opportunity to ask questions and get more information about the project and better understand how that project was going to impact their area. There are meetings going on right now with the schools regarding training, getting implementation partners, and training the trainer staff. That is going forward. Of course, we have everyone understands we have a huge training opportunity at the end of the year. A lot of training, a lot of work has gone into establishing what kind of training tools we're going to use, who needs to be trained, what do they need to be trained on. So a lot of preparation has been going on to be prepared to get to our point where we can actually implement the training and help everyone get prepared for the new system. We appreciate I think the first time we ever met, we said this, and it's still very important to us, and that is that we would appreciate your making sure that people in your area, whatever area that is, that people in your area get information about the project, that you share information with them, that you get them involved, that they are understanding what's coming. There shouldn't be anybody that's surprised in the new year when FRS is no longer there and they're now working in PeopleSoft. Everybody needs to be prepared, and at different levels. Certainly, we're not starting, for example, we're not starting training now for the beginning of the new year. But the more people can become aware of the aspects of what we're going to do and I guess the size and the magnitude of what we're going to be doing and getting prepared for those changes, the better it will be for us. And I didn't do this math. I understand it was done by someone else, but it says that we have 301 days to go live. Certainly, we all feel the pressure of getting closer and closer to go live. There's still a lot to be done, but people are working very, very hard. All the project team members and people on campus and whatnot, from campus perspective, are working very hard to meet that goal. And so we're excited about it. I think everybody's going to be happy when that switch gets flipped and we're into the new system, and then we can just deal with the new system and it'll be perfect, we won't have any problems, there won't be anything we have to change, everybody will be wonderful. No, but I think we're all looking forward to getting to that point because we've been working on this for quite some time. And we'll introduce Robin to you. I think you all know Robin. Robin is going to be talking to us about Budget 101 along with Jim.
Good morning. Thank you. Since we're getting closer to go live, we wanted to take this opportunity to do a refresher on how budget has been designed for the system.
Sorry.
And Jim Gorham and I are going to be presenting this morning. Before I dive in, though, we want to make sure that everyone has the 2 handouts that were placed on each chair. There's a 2-page handout about Budgeting 101 that you can take back with you and read or later. And there's also a 1-pager about budget definitions in the top section, and then a breakdown of the fund codes in the bottom half. And we're going to be using this document a lot during our presentation today. So if you don't have one, there should be extras on empty seats. Okay, so the part that I'm going to talk about is more the top half of the handout, the budget definitions handout. And I just want to walk through the budget definitions that we have created to be used in the system. So we have 2 topics today to go over these budgeting methods for the 5 fund types and for the optional chart fields. And then Jim is going to talk about the budget conversion strategy. So we're familiar with the 5 main fund types that we have at UNC. We have state funds, we have state expense budgets and revenue budgets. We have F&A funds, which is facilities and administrative. We have OSR contracts and grants. And then we have trust funds where there are expense budgets and revenue budgets. And we have capital improvement funds, which we refer to as CI. The first definition that I'm going to walk through is our state funds expense budget definition. I want to talk about the chart fields that you can budget on and the level of control. There are 5 chart fields that are available to be budgeted on. The first 4 are required, which are fund, account, department, and class. And then program is optional. You can use it if you need to put a program budget on with those other chart fields. For state funds, there is control, but it's at the MOU level, the major operating unit. Budget check-in would fail if there's insufficient RSA, which is remaining spending authority, which is similar to BBA and FRS, at the MOU as a whole for that particular combination of fund, class, and account, with account rolled up to a budget account. We also have revenue budgets for state funds. You can budget on the same chart fields as the expense budget, which are the fund, account, department, class, and program. So revenue budgets are not controlled by the system, although if you did a budget journal, and of course I demoed budget journals last month, if you did a budget journal to adjust your budget for state revenue, those would route to the budget office for approval. The next fund type is F&A. We created a definition for F&A funds where you can budget on the chart fields of fund, department, and program. Program is optional. Similar to state funds, control is at the MOU level. Budget checking would fail if there's insufficient RSA or BBA at the MOU as a whole for the F&A fund. The next fund type is OSR contracts and grants. There's 7 chart fields that you can budget on for those, and of course all the budgets are handled in the central office of OSR, and they're also adjusted in OSR. But budgets are placed on the fund, department, class, account, PC business unit, project ID, and PC activity ID, and all of those chart fields are required for projects. For control on the grants, controls at the fund and project ID. Budget checking would fail for one of these reasons. It would possibly fail for that the project ID as a whole has insufficient RSA for the total of the budgeted accounts, or if you were trying to put a transaction through where the current day was not between the project budget begin date or an end date, or if the transaction wasn't allowed for that chart field string, and like maybe you're trying to put food on a grant chart field string. The next fund type is trust funds, and I'll talk about the expense budget first. We've established 5 budgeting methods for trust funds based on all the various types of trust funds we have at the university. And within a budget definition, the way that you handle if you need to budget different ways is to create different rule sets. So that's a term we may refer to throughout the presentation today. The first rule set that we have is called Trust Number 1, where you can budget fund and department. Trust 2 would add program as a chart field, and it would be optional. Trust 3 adds account. And then there's also rule sets for faculty, physicians, and athletics. So trust funds will not have any hard stops. And, you know, I've mentioned here to refer to the handout, especially at the bottom, to determine where your fund code was assigned for which particular rule set under trust funds. For the revenue budget definition for trust funds, we needed one for the trust number 1, similar to the expense definition of fund and department. We also have one for trust 2, where you add program as optional, and then faculty, physicians, which was formerly referred to as P&A, and athletics. And the trust funds revenue budgets will not be controlled either. The last fund type, the major fund type, is capital improvement, which there's, you know, like Jim said, there's probably one person in the whole room that cares about capital improvements, but you would budget on the chart fields of fund, class, account, and project ID, and capital improvement funds will also not have any hard stops. So those are the budget definitions for the main fund types that we have at UNC, but we also have other budget definitions that we've established for the optional chart fields so that you can use those to budget on the chart fields of program, cost code 2, or cost code 3. However, we want to point out that budgets are not required for those optional chart fields. So I've created a slide for each of the optional chart field definitions. I'm going to go through those quickly. They're really simple. The program budget definition has the chart fields program, fund, and department, with fund and department being optional. You may just want to put a budget on a program, and maybe you don't care where the expense is coming from, if it's from a state account or a trust fund, or you may want to break your budget down and include fund and department for that particular program. The program budgets will not be controlled. And then we have slides for each of the cost codes, and they're similar to each other, where with cost code 1 you would budget at cost code, fund, and department are optional, and those cost code budgets will not be controlled. And then same thing with cost code 2 and cost code 3. Same chart fields with fund and department being optional and no control on the cost code budgets. So that's a really quick walkthrough of the budget definitions that we've created, and I do think this handout, the one-pager, is going to be helpful to learn the different definitions, the number of rule sets that have been created for each definition, the chart fields you can budget on, and then if you have time to read this later, you'll see that the orange color on this handout means that the chart field is optional, and then if it's bolded in red, there's a roll-up tree that was designed to support those chart fields. Okay, Jim.
All right.
Do your magic. You need this?
So basically, what Robin talked about is the top section. So where she listed, and I'm sure y'all memorized every slide as she went through it for each budget definition for state funds. But it's all explained in the top half of this handout, where it talks about which chart fields are going to be used, which ones are optional. What she didn't mention, but she did mention, but wasn't in the slides, is which of these chart fields have roll-up values. Do you understand what we say when we say roll-up values? You have ABR methods now on your account. This is yes, ABR. Okay, so basically in PeopleSoft we're able to have the concept of an ABR roll-up, but for any chart field we want to. So where it's in red, we are rolling up chart field values. For instance, department is huge because your MOU will have a department that represents the MOU, but all of the departments that belong arts and sciences, all the departments of arts and sciences would roll up to the MOU department. That's why we have to have a tree roll up to manage it, because as we've discussed before, we're not going to control at the individual department. We will control at the MOU level for state funds. So the goal, and McGregor can say it better, but we don't want to have as much restriction on how you spend it. We're really concerned, the university is more concerned about how the MOU spends their money than going down to the individual departments. So we want to give you more flexibility. Is that fair? All right. Okay, so what the two topics we'll talk about is what is the source of converting our budgets, where are we getting the budget information, and the second step is how will the FRS budgets be mapped to the PeopleSoft budgets. After I created this slide, I was told that you may not be totally familiar with the different transaction codes that are for budgets, that right now when you create a budget journal, I believe you either check current year or future year. That translates into transaction codes. And what we have to read is the computer data, which is and that's what we use for our sources. So those are represented, when you choose those, the system either assigns it one of these transaction codes. So we're picking that. We're not, so that helps us identify these are budget transactions. We will be converting budget journals effective dated or dated between July 1 of 2013 through December 31st of 2013. So you will have, so we can go forward when we convert your actual transactions, we'll have the budgets out there, they'll be budget checked against it, and so once we go live, January, that's our go live day, January of 2014, your actuals will be posted against your budget, so you'll see what, how you're doing. Obviously, your current system has more flexibility, and sometimes we have in PeopleSoft more flexibility. We're going to open up the system so that all budget transactions do get posted, all actuals transactions do get posted to the system. Obviously, you're going to have some overruns in places. That's just the nature of trying to get the two systems, trying to get everything converted. You know, we'll work with that, but we will convert the transactions that are in the system, both actual and budgets. In your handout, one more time, I just want to explain that what's in red are the chart fields that will indicate rolled up values as far as budgeting goes, and the orange highlighted area are optional chart fields. That means for this budget definition, maybe I will use this chart field, maybe I won't. That's the flexibility we say. That's what optional means. And this is an excerpt of what you have in your hand. We can come back and talk to it if you have questions. And this is an excerpt of the bottom half. And this is how we're talking. What is our strategy for converting? So we have to look at the two for us to completely understand what's going on. So here are kind of the rules that we're using for our conversion. The transaction code value and the fund range determine which budget definition and rule set will be used. So if you want to look at the bottom, say for instance, look at the funds at the bottom at the right hand side for, let's just say F&A, which is 14,101. If you go back to the left, it says it's going to use the budget definition called F&A, which is a novel idea, and we have a rule set called default. If you go up to the top, you find the definition of F&A default. It says we will use the fund, department, and optionally the program chart field. So does that kind of tell you how to read this mapping? So you all had a wonderful opportunity of doing an actuals mapping that Robert and Becky have been using to do conversions. And by the way, we are getting transactions balanced. They're making great progress in that arena. So we have to start with the mapping that you did for your actuals transactions. Our second step is the budget definition and rule set, which I mentioned, determine which chart fields are used. And the chart field mappings that you did for the actual transactions are the basic rules that we're using to determine the chart field values in our mapping. Now, there are some occasions where we have additional mappings that are required to map to the budget chart fields. There's some exceptions that we're having to make for converting the facilities budgets. Say facilities. That's is facilities act? Campus services. Campus services. They have special needs, and we're not going to impose their special needs on you. They want to do additional budgeting, so they have special roll-ups that we get to map. So that's some. We had 4 MOUs that elected to do state budgeting at option 2. I know this is, I know ITS was one, journalism. I'm sorry, off the top of my head, I can't remember. Those who chose option 2, we have to do special coding to accommodate them so we can get the conversion to work, and we have that all worked out. So that's what additional mappings mean. Now, part of the terminology that you get to learn with PeopleSoft is budget definitions is equivalent to a ledger group. Sometimes we talk about a budget definition. Sometimes we talk about ledger group. It's potato, or taters, or whatever you want to say. So sometimes the screen will say ledger group, and oftentimes when that's what you'll see. But just remember that. We're having a test. Okay, there's the pointer. Okay, you see ledger group. That's equivalent to your budget definition. Very good. And you can see on this journal, we're making a trust journal entry. You start with the budget definition or the ledger group. This is the journal line. You saw this last month. And here is a simulated converted journal where our budget period will be 2014. Here we have the fund and the department. So this is obviously, I hope it's obviously a Trust 1, 17. Yes, goes to Trust 1. If you notice, the fund is a 17XXX, and if you look on the bottom of your sheet, that goes to a trust budget definition or ledger group, Trust 1, which, if you look at the top of Trust 1, it says we have fund and department. And we'll put in, obviously, the dollar amount of the transaction. Okay, a couple of quick questions that I tried to anticipate that you may be asking yourself. What happens if the same FRS account has budgets that include different object codes, and the new PeopleSoft budget definition does not use the account chart field? Object code in FRS is equivalent to the PeopleSoft account. So what happens to that information? Well, we ignore it. It's like the example I showed you. The Trust 1 converts to department, to fund and department. So if you had if FRS has several different accounts budgeted, several different object codes budgeted, then we're just dropping that off and we'll just convert line by line. And so we may have, if you had one FRS account with 5 object codes on your budgets, then we'll have 5 different lines. We're not going to try to summarize it. We're just going to map each line as we go. So when the budget process, when we post that journal, then it'll just summarize everything into that one line. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay. How will we know what the FRS account and object are of the original transaction? Let me back up. I didn't make I apologize, I didn't make a picture of it, but along this line, if you keep going across the page, there is a reference field for each journal line. We will populate that reference field with the FRS account and object code. So if you ever have to go back, it will only be on this journal. It doesn't get posted to any ledger, but you would be able to go back and look if you had a question to make sure that that's what happened. What we're doing in the conversion of actuals data is we're populating that in, does anybody remember where we're populating? Chart field 2. Cost code 2. Cost code 2. So you'll be able to look at the journal lines of the converted data at cost code 2 and see that. This will give us a similar place to find that. It's just I can't put a cost code 2 because then you'll have to budget on and do transactions with cost code 2. That's just the nature of the budgeting module. Where actuals transactions for reporting and everything else, we will be ignoring that data for historical purposes.
Morning, everyone. This is my second time in this lecture hall. My first time was decades ago, and I signed up for a physics class when I was a freshman. And on top of that, it was at 9 o'clock on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, and I quickly learned that physics wasn't going to be my area of expertise, so I dropped that pretty quick. So hopefully the second time's a charm here in this lecture hall. So you all just had the opportunity to ask some questions of us. Now we're going to ask some questions of y'all. We went over a lot of material earlier, some of it a little difficult, so we wanted to lighten up the last part of this meeting, and we're going to play a game. And we did this last summer. We played Jeopardy, and I think it was pretty well received, and everyone kind of enjoyed it. So we're going to stay with the TV show theme, and we're going to play a takeoff of Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? Has anyone ever watched that show? Raise your hands. Some of you. Y'all are ahead of us on this if you've seen the show, because I actually had to YouTube it to see what's going on. But we're going to play a game, Are You Smarter Than a BA? It is a loose takeoff of the game. And do you want to hit the next slide? We have to improvise a little bit. Rather than the normal game, you just have one contestant and they have 5 fifth graders there to assist them. We want to make this a little more interactive, so we actually want to do it in a team fashion. We want to have 2 teams of 3 people each. And we can do this a couple ways. Do we have
the easy way or the hard way?
Yes. We have plan A and the more difficult plan B. So does anyone want to volunteer to play the game?
Come on down. Come on.
Leave it.
All right, Brian.
Wait. That's the textbook, and this is a closed book. close to it.
I wrote it down with Steve anyway.
So, all right. We've got, this is the college
Yes.
presentation? All right.
Representing, all right.
So,
All right, come on.
right, just give your name real quickly.
Sure, Ryan Greenway.
Gloria Ergo, Sabrina Flowers.
Okay, they're representing the college. All right, they raised the bar. Anyone else want to go up against? Okay, we got School of Medicine. Why don't you come over here?
Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Oh, Nicole Shevik, School of Medicine. Jennifer Blair, School of Medicine.
Not Roger Martin, School of Pharmacy.
All right, we got the health affairs against the college here. All right, this is good. This is good. Okay.
It's like every day.
Quick rules. All right. Quick rules here. We've got our teams here. What y'all are going to do? There's going to be 10 questions, and y'all are going to alternate between picking on the questions. And there's basically different categories. They range from 1st through 5th grade, but they should presumably get progressively more difficult. You can pick questions in any order that you want. You don't necessarily have to start at the 1st grade. Whatever subject you feel most comfortable with. You can also ask for assistance from a BA if you're puzzled. And I've got confidence that neither one of y'all are even going to have to use a BA. But if you do, we've got tickets that you can call on a BA. I want to take just a minute to introduce the BAs that will help out. And they're not going to give you the answer. They will help y'all get the answer if you need to call on. So, all right. Here are our 5th graders in no order of intelligence. Melena Hall, whose specialty is purchasing and accounts payable. Becky Arnold, general ledger and conversion. Robert Vickery, also the class clown, general ledger and conversion. Kathy James, general ledger and banking. A.J. Hafley, who is truly he's got the face of a 5th grader. A.J., by the way, is our newest BA. A.J., why don't you stand up? I'm not sure that you've actually been. A.J.'s a very welcome addition to the team. A.J. is helping out with the general ledger and banking-related needs. And then Robin Burke, that you met earlier, is handling commitment control and commitment accounting. And then finally, Wendy Riley, who is an expert in all of the above. Okay, so Wendy, you're okay. All right. Okay, so basically, if you get an answer right, you score points. And if you score more points than the health affairs folks, whoever is the winner after the 5 questions goes on to ask to answer.
You're placing your bets already.
We've got the bookies up there, and so anyway, the one at the end who has the most points goes on to answer the $1 million question. And if it's tied at the end, we'll just use the $1 million question as a tiebreaker. As you can see, I stole a PowerPoint off the internet. Okay, these are our categories. I'm going to just let you look at them. As you'll notice, there are a number of budgeting ones just because we pretty much gave you the answers to a lot of these, see how much you're paying attention. So these are the categories. Again, you can select these in any order you wish. If you get it right, you're going to get, we're going to put a score in your box. So I tell you what, you're going to be, we'll call you Team Connect, your Team Carolina. We're going to let you go first because y'all went first.
Right.
So go ahead and you can pick any of these 10 categories to get things started.
And to make sure we understand, it's the point grades go 1st to 5th. fifth being higher points?
Well, no, actually, a good question. Let me clarify that. Not necessarily. Just each. It doesn't. You're not necessarily getting more points for a fifth grade question.
Then there's no points.
Hey, y'all. Yes. And thank you, because I did want to clarify that you're not necessarily getting more points for a fifth grade question. It's just like
and
the
we
game.
can work as a team before we have to raise our PA.
Absolutely.
Don't take this too seriously.
Absolutely.
You're
Yeah.
way over the top.
Absolutely.
Go ahead. First grade project. Project time.
First grade project timeline. All right. I'm having to work with the old-fashioned. Okay. The Finance and Human Resources modules are both scheduled to go live on this day.
So this is true false.
That could be a truer comment than you actually think. No, it is not a true.
January 1st, right?
2014.
Thank you.
Is that your final answer? Okay. We will give you that. That is a correct answer. We will return, and you'll see your team connect. So we're going to give you 1,000 points there. That was easy. That was the gimme just to get started. All right, Team Carolina, your choice.
We're going to go with first grade chart field.
First grade chart fields. All right. What chart field identifies the natural classification of financial transactions as assets, liabilities, net assets, revenues, and expenses? And it's similar to the FRS object code.
Account.
You're not even All right. And account is the correct answer. All right. Those were the easy ones. All right. Tie game. Back to the college.
Second grade contracts and grants.
Second grade C's and G's. Name one of the 3 additional chart fields that is always required when a contract grant or capital improvement fund is used. And I want to emphasize additional because we're not talking about the central office type accounts. Is that?
Project? Project ID, sorry.
We will give you, yes. Yes. PC Business Unit, Project ID, or PC Activity ID. Very good. Okay. All right. You understand how the scoring goes? Just we're
Yep.
so. Yep. All right. Thank you all.
Okay, second grade budgeting.
Second grade budgeting. This is a true or false question. When budgeting state funds, the control is at the MOU level.
True.
That is correct. All right, we should have made some more difficult questions.
We like them so far. We feel really good about it.
How many P's in math? How do you spell PA?
All right. Okay, back to the college.
We're going to go with third grade mapping.
Third grade mapping. Okay. Okay. All right, third grade mapping. 18 months of historical FRS expense data will be converted into PeopleSoft. What chart field will be used to identify the 10-digit FRS account and object code?
Costco 2.
Is that your final answer?
That is.
And Jim basically just gave you that one. So, no, that's good.
Yes.
That's all we want.
And does everyone understand that, by the way, for the old FRS data that's going to PeopleSoft, you will have a way to look back to see what what that was in FRS by using that cost code chart, cost code 2 chart field. So. All right, and let me see. You get.
Those are that real dollars.
Notice the dollar sign. It's not. All right.
Okay. All right, we'll just keep going up. Third grade
Okay.
budget.
All right. Third grade budgeting. Another true or false. The program chart field is optional on the F&A budget definition.
We're true.
Is that your?
Yes.
Okay. True is correct. I think we just need to fire all the BAs. I think don't think y'all are. We're gonna hire these people. All right. Back to the
We'll
college.
go with fourth grade budgeting.
Fourth grade budgeting.
Yeah.
All right. Which months of budget data will be converted into PeopleSoft?
From FRS, I'm guessing.
From FRS, yes.
Yeah, let's go ahead and go with that.
July 2012 through December 2013.
Call for
We
PA.
still-
About ramen.
Yes. Now,
And-
can I tell things or do I have to?
I would try to coerce them into getting the right.
So there's only going to be 6 months of budget.
2013, July 2013.
All right, we're going to give you that. This could be under protest now.
We're not like
Okay. We will give you, yes, it is. It's 6 months. 6 months prior FRS budget data is going to be put into PeopleSoft. We're gonna give you that one.
I need one of those.
All right, 3 categories remaining, and let me guess which one you're going to.
well, guess. Fourth grade reporting.
Fourth grade reporting. This one is. Which of the following is not a reporting tool that could be used in PeopleSoft? And this is a multiple choice question.
What did you say?
It's multiple choice. One of those is incorrect.
C, in-depth web reporting.
Very good.
Yeah.
So,
That's how we roll in school then.
and also let me clarify on that is that the data in depth will still be available for you. It's just that you will be most likely using a different tool to mine that data. So is that a fair statement? Okay. Don't want anyone to be concerned, but yes, you are correct. In depth reporting. All right.
Okay. 5th grade.
You want the ePro? All right. This one's a little. We're getting into the 5th grade now. Okay, in ePro, the 9.1, what 2 types of transactions can be processed? I don't blame you. So who would you like to use? You can pick a BA.
Yeah.
Melanie, do you want to come up and help them, or do you want to just, or?
So I can't tell them outright. Okay. One of the types is similar to if you go out to a vendor site to place an order. we currently have that now in 8-9. It has to be less than $5,000.
If you want to,
That's just
Well.
one of them.
We have one. Small order processing.
Not that one, it's the other one.
The other.
this is really going to be under protest.
You go out to a different site, pick out what you want to order, and then you come back into PeopleSoft.
Like when you order staples and stuff.
Yeah, what's that called?
I don't know.
Call for audience help.
Do you want audience help?
Yeah.
Audience help? You can.
Yes.
Is okay. Then is one of them. Well, there's two types actually.
Okay, the other one, currently you do this through Fred or In-Depth. It's going to be new for e-procurement because you don't currently do that in 8-9 now. It can be purchases over $5,000 and under $5,000.
Purchase orders.
Well, you do these in In-Depth and in Fred. You're getting there. You've got half of it.
Starts with an R.
Yes.
Requisitions.
Yes.
Okay.
I have to. All right. So what? All right. Are we? Well, I tell you what. Just to make it fun, we're gonna put that in there. But this is definitely under protest. And the final question: name the 5 main fund types that will have a budget definition.
Spreadsheet, opening, capital, and trust.
Yep.
That's correct.
Boom.
All right. All right. So. I tell you what. So let's just in the spirit here. Why don't you both try to answer the $1 million question? And let me give. Well, I was thinking whether you actually needed to write it down or not. But,
I think they need to write
okay. All right. I'm gonna have you write it down. Just.
No cheat.
Can we ruin the cards?
Do you want to write it on? Okay. You need a. All right. You need a pen.
Send it to the university.
Okay.
Do the sign.
Okay. All right. Here's the $1 million question. The category is the chart field string. The question is, name the 12 chart fields that will be available in the new PeopleSoft. They do not have to be in order. No. Name the 12 chart fields that will be available in the new PeopleSoft chart field string. Why don't you go ahead and read yours out.
Okay. In no particular order.
Okay.
Business unit, fund, department, account, program, class, cost code 1, cost code 2, cost code 3, project ID, PC business unit, and project activity.
Oh, we have the same, oddly enough.
So, anyway, that was the $1 million question. Very good. We actually should have notched the questions up a little bit. Y'all obviously are.
Except for that vendor catalog.
We didn't know that either. So.
That could be $1 million question.
So, thanks again for playing. Again, just wanted to congratulations.
All right.